Yes, we are finally back on the Mario Mancini show. I'm feeling we're going to be doing a lot of laughing again today.
Oh boy. Well, oh boy. Lot to talk about, huh?
Yes,
It's good to be
we're going
back,
to.
man. It's good to be back. I miss doing the show.
Yeah, it feels like it's been forever, but as you know,
It really feels like my grandson's 3 months old. I don't know if I've done it since it's been a long time.
I think it's been. It could be. We definitely, I don't think, done one last month.
No.
We could have done one in August. But
Awesome.
congratulations, he looks
Yes,
lovely.
thank you. Yeah, thank you.
I love the pictures.
Yeah, man.
So you must be proud as punch.
Oh my God. I'm like he's the apple of my eye, man.
Hmm.
He really is.
People are saying, "Oh, Mancini's maniacs in the house. Here we go again."
Yeah, yeah.
And Niall, everyone's here to see you. See you talk about Vince McMahon. So look, my thoughts on the documentary. Nobody really cares what I have to say, but what I will say was that I thought it was the original glamour piece that they were going to put together, but obviously shit changed when all this stuff came out about Vince, and that had to be sprinkled throughout it. And that's what we were kind of left with. That was my kind of take on the whole thing. What did you think?
Well, I'm a big SpongeBob SquarePants fan,
Okay.
and one of my favorite episodes I like watching with my 29-year-old daughter is when one of the fish are in the crowd and a speech is being made, and he looks at his friend, and out of the side of his mouth, he goes, "This is a bunch of barnacles." And basically, that's what this documentary was. Um, Listen, here's the deal. Not to sell like Joe Biden, but listen, Netflix signed a $5 billion deal, I believe, with the WWE starting in 2025.
Yes.
So they could have taken one or two angles. Either they're going to turn Vince into a baby face, or they're going to make him look so horrible at the same time letting people know that he's no longer a part of this process anymore. Look how bad he is, but we got rid of him. They turned him into a babyface. The only thing is, Vince used to be really sharp. I mean, really sharp. So, you know, we're all gonna get that way eventually. As Vince turned 78 years old, 79.
Yeah, something like that.
I don't regret anything in my life, Mo. We're all human beings. We all have regrets. We all have regrets. There's his narcissism. How could he not have any regrets? I've never regret. Listen, I have three different computers in my head. No, those aren't computers. It's called being bipolar. It's being called a paranoid schizophrenic. I have no regrets. That's called being a sadistic narcissist. And over the time I've done GP and other podcasts, how do you describe Vince McMahon? I said, a sadistic narcissist. Here's the situation. I was there. Listen, Mario Mancini, jobber, lost every match. Okay, has a 3 in 268, right? Whatever it is, I've never counted.
Still a record.
Still a record.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I was there. I was there 8 months before WrestleMania 1. Now I did make a phone call.
To Tony.
Dude, yeah,
Tony Atlas, yeah, with the line of the documentary. What was it? What did he describe it as? He took.
Oh my, oh my pecker. Listen to me. Listen to me. I love Tony Atlas. I have love for him. If anything ever happened to Tony Atlas, I mean, that's a day off from work. That's being alone. That's trying to pull myself together. That's how upset I would be. That's how much I love Tony Atlas. Why, Mario? Why? Because you know what? Tony Atlas, SD Jones took me in and smartened me up to the business. SD Jones was close to Tony Atlas. So once Tony saw this 18-year-old kid with SD a lot, Tony said to himself, well, he must be okay. Tony Atlas was one of those wrestlers. You could be Mario Mancini or Hulk Hogan. He's going to treat you the same way and talk to you the same way. There's no difference. He's a man's man, and he's got respect, and you show him respect. So I appreciated that about Tony Atlas, that, he wasn't Adrian Adonis, who would, don't talk to me. You're just a jobber. How dare you talk to me, you low life jobber? You know what I mean?
Mm.
Tony Atlas didn't care. Whether you were Hulk Hogan or Mario Mancini, he treated you the same. I told Tony Atlas he stole that whole show. He stole it.
Somebody just said here, Rick, in the comments, Tony was the best talking head of the documentary.
Yeah, I mean, well, listen, he has to capitalize on that. And as an older statesman in the business, you know what I mean? He should really capitalize on that.
What do you think of this? Niall is coming in here. Pay-per-view weddings. What did you think of that moment where Stephanie admitted? We'll get on to the other thing he admitted in a while, but that he wanted Triple H and herself to get married on pay-per-view. That doesn't surprise me. Does that surprise you?
No, and that, you know what, guys? You have to. That's light. That's light. That's not heavy. Getting married on a pay-per-view. So what? I mean, Randy and Elizabeth were already married, but they did the gimmick marriage too. You know what I mean? But that's light. That's light. Now, I want to make one thing clear before I go on with this tar and feather show. Stephanie McMahon, Linda McMahon, Shane McMahon, and Paul Levesque. I wish them the best. I hope Linda, Shane, although Shane's been seen with AEW, I hope Stephanie and Paul have great success there. I have so much respect for Triple H because I think he loves the business more than he loves his family. And I think Stephanie's right with him. And I think that TKO putting him at the helm is doing the right thing. And even if he lost his relationship with his father-in-law, you know what I mean? His father-in-law should know the show goes on. And you know what? Being Vince McMahon's son-in-law and staying in the business and running the business and doing the right thing and being creative as Triple H is. And Triple H has such a big heart for this business and the people in it, that by Vince thinking that he's stabbing him in the back, if he does, is a lot less than the greatest wrestler who ever entered the ring, which would be Bret Hart, having his brother die in the ring and the show goes on.
This is just what's come in here, actually, that you say it now. The Owen Hart section was tough and the excuse was disgusting. When he said that quote, it's been kind of misquoted at times because he actually quoted what Paul Heyman had said, but they left that part out. And it's basically the quote is going around, if it was me splattered on the ring, the show would go on. But it was taken, some of the quote was taken out of context because he had subquoted Paul Heyman on that. Now, it's still not a nice thing to say, but a lot of the clickbaity articles didn't quote that in his defense. But still, it's a terrible thing to say.
Well, yeah. So, I got a hold of Rita and I said, watch episode 2. She said, am I going to get upset? I said, very much.
It was just glanced over.
I said, very much, but remember that you got the last laugh and you'll be fine. You know what I mean? So having the education that I have, which is law school, I watched that documentary a lot different than you guys did.
Mm,
So I watched it as if I was deposing Vince McMahon if he was in a deposition. So he's like, well, the statue already ran. And my question back to him was, are you talking about a statue to bring an action against you or the rape statue? Which one are you talking about?
mm,
So when he said the statute of limitations ran on what? And then originally, when I did this New York Magazine thing, and when this first thing came out, and in 1992, Vince said never happened,
mm.
never took place, never happened. Then he said it was consensual. So he lost his credibility there because 32 years ago he said it never happened.
Hmm.
So, even if it was consensual, Rita was booked pretty well up to that point, but then after that, he dumped her.
Mm. I'm
So,
guessing. I'm guessing. Correct me if I'm wrong. That she was probably asked to do this, but couldn't partake in it legally at the moment.
well, listen, I believe at this point Rita could do whatever she wants to do. I think she's playing it safe.
Yeah.
Um, she signed a non-disclosure. Um, to my knowledge, that non-disclosure was good for a year. Um, but I don't know. I'd have to read it. I'd have to talk to her again and revisit it. We don't really talk about it. We talk about our families and the baby and my new grandson and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
where she's
Better.
going next in her Winnebago and stuff. So I don't really talk to her about it, but I'd have to read it. She did sign a non-disclosure, but um, you know, to make Pat Patterson look innocent,
Mm. What was that all about? What was the thinking behind that? Because anyone that's within the business,
I
pretty
don't
much.
know. Maurice, I wish I could tell you. I wish I knew. I don't know what that was all about. I really don't. I don't. You know what? Listen, the funny part about it is, I think I've told you this before, and for the people that haven't watched our podcast before, the funny part is I was very close to Terry Garvin. Very close to Terry Garvin loved me, and
Mm.
I loved him. I'd walk in the dressing room and go, Mario, quesadillas. He start trying to talk Italian to me. And I'd sit next to him and he would tell me old stories about old wrestlers. And, I was sitting in Texas on a layover one time and he was walking by me with a case on his shoulder. I like, Terry, what do you got there? Because Terry was like a novice chef. So he loved to cook. So, he stopped and he's like, this is the best barbecue sauce you'll ever get in your life. And I'll tell you, after I got out, when they said he was gay, I was shocked.
Mm.
I was shocked. He had a wife and 2 kids. Not that you can't be bisexual, but he never gave me an indication ever,
Mm.
ever. For me, who you know what? For me, the guy that should get a halo around his head. What is Terry Garvin? You know what I mean? So it's like I know the Barrio story. I know that, you know, and I don't know so much how he was involved with the Ring Boys. He must have been. I know Mel Phillips was, but Pat Patterson's his go-to line is I wonder what you taste like. You
Oh.
had that Murray Hodgkins guy back on the Donahue show got fired. He went up to him, said, "I wonder what you taste like." He goes, "I'm not like that." He got fired. Yeah, he was all over Jimmy Powers constantly. He was all over Jerry Orotsky from New Haven, Jerry Allen, Jerry O. He was always all over him. But then, Maurice, you had the guys in the wrestling business that were that way. And I have to tell you, that's none of our business. If you're gay and you're consenting to it, even though you're in an employment atmosphere, it's like kind of having sex at work with the employees.
We've
But
all
it's
been there.
yeah, but it's none of our business. If that's what they prefer, that's your choice. It's not mine, but it's yours, and I respect it. You want to go and get a room with Pat Patterson? Go ahead, enjoy yourself. God bless you. But if you think you have to in order to make a living and you're forcing yourself to do something that you're not made up to do and you're pressured into doing, now that's the problem. And the same thing holds for Vince McMahon. Listen, when you have that much power, it's like Weinstein, the casting couch. When you have that much power, you know what I mean? It just goes to your head.
A lot of people think that this documentary is kind of going to go under the radar at the moment because of all this P. Diddy shit that's going on over in America. Obviously, massive story there, really dark kind of stuff going on. Can you foresee this just kind of flying under the radar as
Well,
old
no,
news?
I don't see it flying under the radar because of the P. Diddy stuff. I see it flying under the radar because most of the and I respect the fans. I respect the fans because without the fans, we're shit. We're nothing. We're zero without them.
Mm.
Nothing. They all couldn't stand that documentary. And they knew it was BS because, as Bret Hart said, today we're the marks and they're the smart ones. You know what I mean? So they're not buying the documentary. P. Diddy or not, they're not buying it. They're not buying that documentary. Listen, I'm going to say it again. And the people that are watching, I'm going to say it again. I just said it to Roma yesterday. If I'm in a 5,000 square foot house right now, if I got a Bugatti in my garage, if I'm paying my mortgage, my car payment, my food, my electric bill, all my bills, my credit cards, on the money that I made with Vince McMahon, if you notice the handful of guys, the most successful guys in the wrestling business, well, I'll bring The Undertaker to tears. Vince was his dad. Well, you know what? If I had $40 million behind me, I made in the wrestling business, you know what? I'd be on here, Maurice, right now going, how dare they talk about Vince like that?
Mm. It's like that comment down there from Niall when Steve Austin went on and he said he doesn't believe that CTE is a thing. What do you think about that? That's a bit odd, isn't it? Because it clearly is a thing.
Well, you know what? If you talk to Hacksaw Jim Duggan, if you talk to Tito Santana, um, all the rest of them are dead, really. Um, if Paul Orndorff was alive, if you talk to him, if you talk to Jim Neidhart, um, you know, all of these guys have one thing in common. And what is it that I named? All the guys that I named played for the NFL. Or Neidhart was at least on a practice team. So I don't know how much football Steve Austin ever played. You
He
know,
did football as well at some point.
well, Steve Austin is one of the greatest guys to go into this business with the greatest gimmick, the most successful merchandising, you know what I mean? But he's another one that the only thing about Steve Austin is I don't think he gives a shit. He'll say his mind anyway. He'll state what's on his mind anyway. He's another one of these guys like David Schultz. He's pretty close to his character. Um, So, but if you notice, you take a John Cena, an Undertaker, these guys that are still spending WWF money, they're not going to say anything bad about Vince McMahon.
Hmm.
They're not going to say anything bad about him. Now, Brett, Brett is a great guy to say he loves Vince McMahon and all that other stuff because, out of carelessness, you know, Owen didn't have to come from the rafters. Not only did his brother die, he screwed him in Montreal. He didn't treat him the way that he should have been treated, like the greatest wrestler that ever lived, which he is.
But
And
a lot of people would say though that he should have dropped the belt. Really.
yeah, and I'll speak for Brett right now. I'll be Brett right now. I
Hmm.
will be Bret Hart right now. Yes, I will drop the belt right in the middle of the ring. 1, 2, 3. I don't have a problem with that. Just not in Canada. That's all I'm asking. Not in my country. That's all I'm asking you. I'll go do it in Chicago. Sure. I'll go do it in LA. I'll go do it in New York. I'll do it wherever you want me to do it. Just not in my country. I don't think that's too much to ask.
I don't know. I actually
Uh,
think you know,
but Mo,
the boss is the boss, though, Mario.
yeah,
No.
the boss is the boss. The boss owed his father another $900,000. He bought his territory for $1 million, paid him $100,000, and stiffed him.
Hmm.
So what's he owe him? He owes him something. That's Stu Hart's son. That's a wrestling royalty family. He owes him something. I
Hmm.
don't think it's unreasonable for him to say, "I'll do it. I just don't want to do it in Canada."
Yeah. Well, aside from that, like obviously what happened with Owen was a million times worse than that, and he still came back after that, which was.
But yeah, because Bret Hart is the epitome of a professional wrestler. I'll say it again. Bret was in the business while he was in his mother's stomach. You have to separate and give people the respect they deserve.
I think Niall is agreeing with me. He said, imagine if every American wrestler said the same thing, he wouldn't drop the belt in America.
Well, yeah, you know what? I get it. I get it, but let me tailor it for you, brother.
You just
Let me
love
tailor
Brett. Love
no,
Brett.
let
That's
me
fine.
let me tailor it for you. Okay, so there's 50 states, right? I don't want to drop it in my country. No. Listen, I grew up in Connecticut, right? So if I was going to drop the belt and Vince said, "Hey, can you drop it in the Hartford Civic Center?" I go, "Gee, can I drop it in Chicago? I got to drop it in my state." It's kind of like that. You know what I mean? You're dropping it at home. But I
Mm.
get what he's saying. I respect what he's saying. Don't go anywhere. Hold on.
Looking lean, Mario. What's the secret? We'll have to ask him if he's back in the gym. Maybe he's doing another match. It's a work, Brett. Yeah, it sure is. What did you guys think of the documentary anyway? I thought it was kind of a glamour piece with obviously the
Well,
stuff sprinkled in that we talked about.
I like
Someone is saying
Maurice.
there, comment
I
here
like,
for you, Mario.
huh?
Looking lean, what's your secret? Did Roma yell at you again?
What's my secret for what?
Because you're looking lean, according to
Okay.
Joseph.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, that's my cardiologist.
Oh,
Um, so, so we're gonna beat this documentary thing
yeah.
because Mario, yay, because Mario and Paul Roma. I'll leave the other names out.
Okay, this is we may have touched on this before, but this is kind of like a big thing, So
Yeah,
I'll let you take it away. There's
we
there's another Vince production going on for quite a while, so you can get into that.
guys, listen. We're gonna do a documentary for a very large major motion picture company. I won't mention the other names that's gonna be on it, but I promise you're gonna get the truth as usual. And Vince McMahon is gonna get tarred and feathered. Because you know what? I've been on a job for 29 years. That's how I pay my bills. That's how I pay my bills. I don't have any wrestling money. I don't have, and you have to remember this too, Mo. These guys, except for Tony Atlas, God bless him, these guys won't come on and say anything at 68, 70, 73. Do you know why? And this is sad. Because they still think that phone's going to ring. They
Yeah.
still think it's going to ring. And it's not. It's not going to ring. It's not. So Roma and I are going to go on this documentary. Actually, after the documentary, Banfield called me again, News Nation, said, we want you to come back on.
Hmm.
And I said, okay. But they bumped me for a lawyer. So we're going to do a documentary, and there's going to be a lot of big names on it. Huge things are going to happen on this documentary. Huge. This
Is any
documentary,
is
this
some of this been filmed already?
yeah,
Yeah.
interviews have been filmed, and this documentary is going to get 10 times the viewers that this one got. I promise you that.
Hmm.
I promise you that because when you guys see the teaser for this documentary, you're going to go, "What?" That I promise you. That I promise you. So there's going to be another one, and we are we're going to tell the truth. So, you know, this is why I stayed close to Strongbow while I was in the business. Because he was the safe one for me. Um, this documentary, with him. Listen, you want to talk about
Eventually,
no release date yet.
next
Well,
year, I
yeah, you want to talk about doing the honors. Who is that? Not Nigel. What was his name?
Rick Howard.
No, the other guy that said you could say the same thing about an American wrestler.
Oh, it was Niall.
Nile. Okay. What about the age-old tradition, right? The complaint was, what about the age-old tradition about leaving the territory and giving up the belt? In the age-old, you drop the belt before you leave. That's the age-old tradition. Well, you know what? Vince Jr. had a father that really didn't want him in this business. And Vince Jr. had a father that discouraged him. But his father gave him the business for $1 million. What happened to the age-old tradition of handing it down to your son, Shane McMahon? Where was that on that documentary of one of the reasons, the rumors, allegedly in rumors, that the reason why Shane left that company is because Vince wanted him to get involved with his shenanigans and Shane refused to. So, where is the age old tradition of my father handed it down to me? Now I'm going to hand it down to Shane. So, you got a guy that is so power hungry, such a power monger, such a narcissist, such a control freak that he couldn't even give up the business to his son. Even when they had an idea, who says that to their kid? You got to stab me right here. You know what? I would have stabbed the living daylights out of him. Who does that to their son?
Yeah. What did you think of that part where Stephanie didn't realize that they had got Tyson in about after all that rape allegations and stuff went on? That was surprising that she didn't realize that.
Yeah. Well, Stephanie was just I can guarantee you this. She was part of that company, but that's evidence that she didn't know everything. They
Mm.
let her know what they wanted to let her know about that business.
What did you think about when he said that he wanted to impregnate her in a storyline? Now
Well,
I've heard this before, but
well,
I've never
yeah,
heard him say it.
Bruce,
You know.
Bruce, I think Bruce Pritchard tells a story
Hmm.
because nothing is out of bounds for Vince.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, you heard the rumor that he had a fetish with fecal matter, and he
Mm.
proved that he did. He went on live TV having people kissing his ass. You know what I mean? So it's like, he has Vince thinks the more extreme it is, the better it's going to sell.
Yep. Some of those crazy things he done worked.
Well, listen, when he got away from the bubblegum stuff,
Mm.
Hulk Hogan, the Ultimate Warrior, Randy Savage, snapping to a Slim Jim, saying your prayers and all this stuff.
It's like you're in sync here. Daniel mentioned Randy Savage there, not mentioned about Stephanie and Savage. Do you have any insight to any of that stuff?
No, no,
No.
of course, no.
Did you ever hear anything about it?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, but just the scuttlebutt. You know what I mean? Just the scuttlebutt. So it's like, that stuff you're never going to hear. You're never going to hear. That's why you know that documentary's not telling you what really happens. You know what I mean? And just like I said on Banfield, when she was shocked about um, Janelle Grant and the fecal matter in her hair, and I looked at her, I go, "There's worse stuff than that."
Yes, and she tried to probe you on it, but you didn't answer. But will you be
No,
answering that worse stuff in this documentary?
I think I'm going to answer it like Roma did. I think I'm going to answer it like Roma did. Roma answered it very well because Banfield went after him and said, Mario said there's worse stuff than that, but he wouldn't say anything. Well, who wants to get sued? Because
Mm.
nobody's corroborating it, nobody's coming forward. But Roma put it in a way. Um, Listen, a lot of bad stuff happened there. You know what I mean? A lot of good
Mm.
stuff happened there too. And that's the thing. And when I broke in, Vince Vince was focused on WrestleMania 1. And all that stuff was going down, and he was working day and night, and he was laying it all on the line for WrestleMania, and his whole brain was on WrestleMania. It wasn't until he started accumulating a bunch of money and a bunch of power that, you know, he figured, hey, he's a success. People are dying to get into his company. I mean, it's like I was stupid enough at 17 when I was going into the wrestling school saying, well, if you got enough talent, you're going to go somewhere. That's not what the wrestling business is all about. Not back then. Um, so, there's a lot of things. And as you could see in the last episode, he wasn't there because the Janelle Grant thing came out and he said, oh, I'm out. I'm gone.
Mm. It's a shame he didn't stay and just because there would have been only certain things he could have talked about because it was going to be kind of ongoing legally, couldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to do that. He's going to take the advice of his attorneys, and that's it. Listen, I can only hope that he's not a part of that business anymore. I can only hope that Paul has free reign
Yeah.
uh, to do what he wants to do. I'm sure they have the whole year mapped out for Netflix next year. They have that whole they probably had that done in May, you
Mm.
know, April, that the whole year for Netflix next year and beyond. Um
We're already getting John Cena's doing a end of year thing next year. He's going to do his final few matches, so that's going to be penciled in somewhere to probably be on the first episode in January. I'd imagine it'll be a big one.
yeah. I mean, he's gonna want that. All the money's gonna change again. He's gonna want that Netflix money. You know what I mean? So all the money's going to end up changing again, and the guys are going to start getting more and more money. And you know what? Listen, for me, for Mario Mancini, I don't care who makes it, how big they make it, and I hope everybody does great based on their performance, based on their athletic ability, based on them paying their dues and earning it, and not because somebody wanted to pull their pecker.
Someone says here, once Bruce is still there, I think Vince will be involved. Mm.
Well,
Well, he was very defensive, wasn't he?
Bruce is a stooge.
Yeah.
I know it's hard for Bruce because listen, it's just like me with my job. I would defend the guy I work with until the end. I got 29 years with him.
Mm.
This April coming, I got 30 years with him. So you know what? You got to remember something. On January 19th, 1990, when the Undertaker debuted against myself, Bruce was brother love.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was there. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So he's got his time in, and Vince was probably good to him. You're not going to be able to say a bad thing about Vince McMahon to him because his wife with the cancer and what Vince did, and
Hmm.
listen, I'm not saying Vince McMahon didn't do good things. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. But unfortunately, as I've said many times, he was a genius in the wrestling business. He was the Pied Piper, man.
Yeah.
It was just his moral character sucked.
What did you think of Hogan's involvement in the documentary?
I thought Hogan did fine. I think he did okay.
Yeah, he came
Um,
across pretty honest.
yeah, I think I like Terry. I don't he was always nice to me. So and I'm not just basing it on because he's always nice to me, but
Mhm.
his newfound religion. He's been baptized. He's saved. Um, I think his faith is being tested now because the Hogan's hangout is underwater. Um,
Oh shit, is it?
yeah,
Oh no.
yeah, Hogan's hangouts it was underwater, man, bad.
I hope he's got insurance.
Oh, I'm sure he. Oh, I know he does.
Yeah.
So, um, you know, what is he going to do? What was Terry 70, 69? I mean, he gave his life to the business. I mean, yeah. Could have anybody else done what he did? I don't know. I always say the closest guy that could have pulled off something like Hulkamania was Superstar Billy Graham.
Mm, yeah. And
That's it.
actually, I think it was like one of the last times we talked. We'd talked about Hogan's performance at Trump's rally over there, which is very impressive.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That
What
was.
American politics? It's crazy. What way is it? Like, I know we're getting off topic here now, but next month it's all going down from the outside. From what the media say, Trump's not going to win. But from anyone I talk to in America, they love the guy and he is going to win. So what's going to happen over there?
Well, I'm going to tell you right now. Unfortunately, when
Unless
I was.
unless unless they try to kill him again.
Yeah, no. Listen, when I was a kid, when I was 9 years old in 1975, and I sat down and watched Walter Cronkite, you got the truth. Believe it or not, when you watch the news, It was unbiased, and you got the truth. This country's a mess, and it's all propaganda.
That's the same
And
worldwide
it,
now. It's the same.
yeah, it's all propaganda. And you know what? Monkey see, monkey do. If you keep banging into people's heads, Harris is gonna win. Harris is gonna win. Harris is gonna win. Who is that woman? Could somebody help me out? Shame on me. Um, there was a Japanese woman, I think it was, in World War II,
Oh, that's before my time, Mario.
and I know her. I know it had Rose in it. I don't know if it was Gypsy Rose. I don't. But she would come on the radio, and it was just all propaganda. The United States is losing the war. They're losing the war. She would just come on and just do all that and it's almost like listen, I put on Fox News, it's all Trump. You put on CNN, it's all Harris. You know what I mean? They're all committed to one party, where back in the day you didn't have that. So it's all propaganda. Um, you know, I don't know what's wrong with this country. I don't know if their heads are too much into their phone. I don't know if they're listening too much Taylor
Tokyo
Swift.
Rose.
Tokyo
Tokyo.
Rose. Tokyo Rose. Tokyo Rose.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's too much Taylor Swift, but I can't believe they're not using common sense and going, Kamala Harris isn't talking. Kamala Harris is hiding. Kamala Harris isn't doing interviews. And we don't hear anything from Joe Biden. Is he just a lame duck? Who's running the country?
Yes. Very,
Who's
very valid point. Yeah.
who's running the United States right now? Nobody knows.
Mm.
Nobody knows. And JD Vance has a point. Kamala Harris keeps saying, on day one I'm going to do this, and on day one I'm going to do that. On day one I'm going to do this. You've been the vice president for almost 4 years.
Elon Musk, he's running the country.
Why don't you just do it now? You have the power to do it now. Everything you're saying, you have a couple of months to do it. Why don't you just do it all now? You're the vice president of the United States.
Rolling on. Kamala Harris reminds you of Mercedes Monet. Dull.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, why don't you do it
Harsh.
right now? And guys in the wrestling business are even worse, because when they see stuff like that, they're like, "What's the storyline? What's the angle they're running? Why are they hiding her? What is she gonna do? What's gonna be the high spot? When is she coming through the curtain? Is her music gonna start playing? I mean, why are they running this angle?
Mm.
You know what I mean? What's it serve for her not to talk to the American people? So I think the truth is going to come out. Um, I think it's going to be a landslide. I
Mm.
think it's going to be an absolute landslide. And I think so. And look what's happening with Iran.
Mm. They
What
were
is she
saying,
do?
I think they said it was in and around 50-50 is a report I read this morning.
Well, yeah, that's what they keep saying. It's 50-50. It's 50-50. It's 50-50. I don't believe any of it. None of it.
If Trump loses, he knows him, Vince, and Diddy are going to have some party in prison.
Well, you know what? That's
Oh,
another thing.
and
They,
here's another comment. Trump, he's a WWE Hall of Famer. That in itself is
well,
just
again, since this Vince McMahon stuff, they like showing a lot of Trump with that Vince McMahon stuff.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? So, they like associating the one another. You know what I mean? Although I don't think Trump is going to defecate in a woman's head anytime soon. So I
Is
don't know.
is is Linda involved with Trump's campaign this time around?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I think if she even volunteered. Unfortunately, it would be guilt by association. I don't think they want the McMahon family around that at all.
It's
Around
bad.
the
It's bad.
campaign.
That's bad now with Trump with his
I,
kind of alleged baggage. Doesn't want Linda involved.
I hear you.
Mm. Let's get back to the documentary, kind of anyway. In closing, um, did you learn anything new from it?
Let me think. Uh, no,
No.
no, and I was getting a little pissed off because you know I know Vince was abused when he was a kid,
Hmm.
and people should get help for that. But you know, when you're abused as a kid, I think your goal is supposed to be as loving as and caring to your children because you don't want to do that to your children.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's a poor excuse for his behavior. I mean, I've heard this story before. Um, but Vince Vince treated the guys well that made him the most money.
Mm.
There's more guys that Vince screwed than helped. And in my mind, Bret Hart will always be the one he screwed the most. And I know you guys have valid opinions about it. I know you guys have valid opinions about it. But, I think with anything in life, there could have been a compromise. Dropping that strap, um, there could have been a compromise. It didn't have to go like that. I mean, um,
I just think when you compare it to what happened to his brother, I think it's not even comparable. At the end of the day,
no,
you
no,
know,
it's not. It's
not anymore.
no, it's
But
not. It's not comparable. And in my wrestling brain, I'm sitting there watching it, going, you know what? You call a match where 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 pinfalls can be anywhere. You can be disqualified or counted out and still win the belt, right? You run a story like that. You run an angle like that, and there's ways in this business to for people to lose but stay alive. You know
mm,
what I mean? So it's like when superstar Billy Graham beat San Martino for the belt in '77. When he pinned him, his two legs were on the second rope. He didn't beat him clean. That kept Bruno alive. There's
yeah,
always way. Brett could have gotten counted out. Brett would have said, "All right, I'll be counted out in Canada. You could get the belt like that, not pinning my shoulders though." With me, you can't say anything negative about Bret Hart because I'm just gonna come back every time.
hmm. So, in conclusion, then, give the documentary a rating out of 10. What would you give it?
I give it about a 5.5.
Mm.
I think it was terrible. I mean, for people.
I think it was really well produced. I think it was the glamour piece of the evolution of the wrestling business, sprinkled with here's some bad stuff about Vince McMahon, and then wrapped together.
Well, listen, where I got lost is they got was it a Vince McMahon documentary, or
Not really.
did we have to hear Andre wouldn't tell me what the finish was? Don't worry about it. I got in there and he said slam, and then I dropped the leg. I mean, you were getting wrestling stories. You were getting a bunch of wrestling stories.
Do you believe that they
I
didn't know what
do.
the finish was?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, listen.
At WrestleMania? Wow.
Well, the thing about it is I'll always believe that Andre did that as a rib. I'll always believe that Vince McMahon was in on it for the rib. Vince knew he was going to put him over.
Mm.
Um, but I think Andre did it just to get under Hogan's skin. You know what I mean? because it was a big thing. It was a huge thing,
Oh,
and Andre wasn't only giving up, who he's been for years, undefeated, right? Um, but he was giving him a body he didn't have anymore.
this is an
You know what I
interesting
mean?
part as well because Jack Gilby mentioned this to me off camera today. Vince lying on the documentary about Andre having back surgery before the match with Hogan. He had the back surgery after that WrestleMania, didn't he? Yeah,
I think, yeah, yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
that was another kind of, I don't know. You can't remember everything at his age, dates, times, places.
Well, that's the thing, and he should have never gone on there and talked because he incriminated himself a lot. He incriminated himself a lot.
From a legal perspective, you're talking about. So what kind of things did he incriminate himself on?
Listen, um, that can be brought into evidence now.
Mm,
Um, although, it's they are statements out of court, not under oath. So there could be there it could be called hearsay. Um, but I'm sure if my Rolodex and my brain took 5 minutes, which I won't, I'll find an exception to the hearsay rule to bring it in. But he said the statute of limitations ran. Um, it was consensual, and they can show a video prior to him saying it never happened.
mm,
That as in law we say that impeaches his credibility. Um, him saying I don't in front of a jury, him saying I don't regret anything ever in my life. I have no regrets. That's somebody with no remorse. No remorse. None. None. You know what? We always wondered how he stayed alive.
all the
How
sex.
how Mario Savoldi or Vern Gagne or the Hart family or Dusty Rhodes, just didn't take the guy out. You know what I mean? Because he crippled everybody in the wrestling business. And that was the thing, I was going through TikTok today, and there was a match on TV. It was regular TV. It wasn't Madison Square Garden. It was a jobber in 1977, and Dusty Rhodes came out. Well, how do you think you see Dusty Rhodes in 1977? How do you think you see Dusty Rhodes in 1978 in Madison Square Garden? Because Vince Senior would go, "Hey, I want to use Dusty," and they go, "Okay, Vince. Well, sometimes I'd like to use Andre," and he'd go, "Okay, no more play nice. It's mine. I want it all."
Mm,
You know what? You reap what you sow, and the rooster's coming home to crow.
mhm.
He,
Well,
he he stepped all over everybody, man,
mm,
except a handful of guys that he made a ton of money for.
mm. Well, we gotta pencil in another show, I think, for this month. And if you have any updates throughout the next couple of months on the documentary, we'd love to hear them as well. But before you go, Paradise Alley, it's a busy time at the moment. What's going on there?
Oh, it is busy. So we had a
Yeah.
sold out show this past Saturday. I had to give up my own seat. Couldn't fit any more. It couldn't fit any more people in. And my seat's at a desk, and I had to give that up. Couldn't fit any more people in. We have a show this Saturday at our facility, and then our wrap up show for the year at the Armada Brewing Company's on the 13th. It's going to be a 2 o'clock show. And then in November is our Mania show, Mania in Paradise. That's our biggest show of the year. That's going to
Hmm.
be at the JCC in Woodbridge. And we usually take December off. And then we're going to kick off 2025 at the Cadillac Ranch in Southington, Connecticut. So, um, Of course, we have exciting stuff going on. I have new talent that are exceptional. Still got Brad Baylor. His sights on the WWE, and I got news for you: the WWE sights on him.
Awesome.
So that's a good thing for that kid. Imagine at 19 years old, right? Um, so we got some good stuff going on, and just plugging away and plugging away and plugging away.
Awesome. Well, look, we'll get you booked in for another show this month because the people have missed you. So, and that's a testament to my busy schedule as well. So we'll get you
Well,
going
Maurice,
again.
I
Loving
don't
the
like to
people,
bother you
Mario.
because I know you're a man of government, and I don't like to bother you. And I know you're busy. I know you're busy, man. You might have not been busy before, but you're busy now. So that's why anytime you want to call a show, if I can do it, I'll do it on your time. I know
Yeah,
you're
because
busy too.
I haven't been doing as much shows as I was able to because I'm kind of working two jobs now and at the DJing and the little people and the wife and this. And you try and juggle them all together, but I'm managing at the moment. But not I can't do as many shows as I could. I try to get at least one a week. I've got two done tonight, so if anyone missed earlier, good interview there, Rob Van Dam as well. He's coming back to Ireland, I think, soon as well. So we got a massive show in 3 weeks' time in this country where the WWE have let Finn Balor and JD McDonough, two of the Irish guys, wrestle over here for the independent show OTT Wrestling. So two in contract WWE guys that are holding the tag team titles are going to be wrestling here. It's pretty crazy, and I can't wait for that show.
Excellent.
Exciting times.
It is.
Yeah. So look, Mario, thanks for letting me on your show tonight. I really, really appreciate it. And we'll catch up again in a couple of weeks' time.
You got it, brother.
Thanks, man.
Take care.
Thanks, everyone in the chat.